the system. Oh yeah! It's still real to me, damn it! Barack Lesnar! Woo!
I knew you'd come. Awesome!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sunday Night Slam, exclusively here on TBK Magazine and TBKRadio.com. My name is Richard, and I'm by myself today. All by myself. Phil is off making the sequel to Bax Noir. If you haven't checked out the movie, it's on TBKMagazine.com. Go under our video section and click Bax Noir. Hour and 14 minutes of really fun movie. Check that out. Phil is a wonderful director and filmmaker. I don't think we've ever talked about that on this show, but he has some amazing work out there, does commercials locally, but is working on this character and came up with the first movie, Bax Noir, in the Search for the Missing Terrier. Now he's working on the Christmas edition, and it's maybe coming out this year, and hopefully it'll come out on Christmas Day on the website like the last one did. Because it's almost time for Christmas, and the 25 Days of Christmas at TBKMagazine.com is kind of a hectic time for all of us, but it is the return of the wrestling shows. Guys, SNS is back. WWE is going to return soon with some Christmas-themed stuff and getting into the spirit of things, because I needed that break. And Ashley, by the way, is also not here today because she is off taking care of human lives, being a nurse and all, doing her duties. So it's just me. And so I had to have that break, and I was going to talk about that. Thank you guys for your emails and your comments on our show about what happened at StarCast, and that really got to me, and a lot of you guys said you felt the same way, or, you know, I was talking out my ass, and that's fine. It is what it is. It was different experiences for everyone. I wish I had just went as a fan instead of paying to be part of Podcast Row, but we talked about that already. But thank you guys for your support and your emails and wondering when the show is coming back. But to say it, we're back. Now, there's a lot to discuss, and a lot to discuss today. But the reason the show is back, it is one of my favorite Big Four pay-per-views. It is Thanksgiving weekend. It is the time where we celebrate with our family. It's the time where we come together as a team. It's Rude's Brood versus Rowdy's Roddies. It's the Survivor Series. This is one of my favorite Big Four. Like, this might be my number 2. The concept for Survivor Series being these team matches where it could be 4-on-3, 4-on-2, 2-on-3, 3-on-3, 1-on-4, 1-on-1. Like, the fact that it could be any combination of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 is something awesome, and it sets this show apart from every other WWE pay-per-view. My problem with a lot of WWE pay-per-views right now on the main roster is that they're just set around one match. And, I mean, I'm cool with doing the Hell in a Cell once a year. That's fine. But don't put it at a show called Hell in a Frickin' Cell. Same way with the Elimination Chamber. Do you really have to call the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, the pay-per-view where the Elimination Chamber takes place, the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view? Like, do we really need that redundancy? I don't think so. I think that's a little much for me. Do we really need Money in the Bank is the only one I'm okay with. Because I feel that match is special enough to go, all right, this is it. And I'm tired of those. I'm tired of WWE shoving those pay-per-view names that's after matches down my freaking gullet. However, the very first one is one of the first of the Big Four, is number 2, and it's the Survivor Series, because the tag team matches were called Survivor Series elimination matches. So we got it. We get that these team concepts are going to happen. awesome. The very first Survivor Series ended with a surprise ending of Hulk Hogan getting counted out and Andre the Giant standing tall during their huge feud in 87. And that's what that whole pay-per-view was surrounded around, was that, but it was also trying to kill Starrcade, and it is what it is. But this show, I feel Survivor Series is one of the most underrated shows, because no matter what, as a wrestling fan, of the big four, you're going to be more excited for WrestleMania because it's Wrestle-frickin-Mania. It's always going to look different. Mania is always going to feel different than every other show, no matter what. Like, you can go back in time, with maybe the exception of the mid-90s, like 95, 96, and 97, and take a look at WrestleMania, in 98 even, and take a look at WrestleManias, set-wise, and they all look the same. Like, they have that same set and everything, and it just doesn't feel like Mania. But as soon as they start doing those different sets for WrestleMania, as soon as they started doing that, like WrestleMania 9, as shitty as it is, it's still one of the most beautiful put-together shows WWE's ever done because it looks so different. Like WrestleMania 24, which would be the one that was in Orlando prior to 33. But WrestleMania 24, absolutely gorgeous. And they did most of that. They put most of that together. So you're not going to get that at one of the other big four shows. But there's always something that stands it out. The Rumble has the Royal Rumble match. And again, I'm cool with the concept because that match is bigger than the pay-per-view itself. The Royal Rumble match is probably my favorite of the whole year. Like, Royal Rumble is my show. But that's going to cause more excitement than what Survivor Series does. And then on top of that, SummerSlam's become WrestleMania Summer, and it's now become a spectacle. I mean, you're getting some meet and greets now going. I assume probably within the next couple of years, they're going to start doing fan accesses at SummerSlam because that's how big SummerSlam is getting. And I mean, Toronto next year hosting SummerSlam. I kind of hope WWE takes note of how big the big four truly are and starts moving them from different cities. Like, one of my biggest gripes with SummerSlam lately is the fact it's in the same town. So I'm kind of hoping they do away with that. But it is Survivor Series weekend, and I am super stoked. I mean, Survivor Series, history of her Survivor Series is something you cannot forget in the lore of WWE. Because, I mean, at this show, we always say the road to WrestleMania begins at the Royal Rumble, but I mean there for a while. The road to WrestleMania started at Survivor Series. The best example of that, WrestleMania 5, the Hogan Savage main event, the very first conflict between the two took place at Survivor Series 88. Hogan picks up Elizabeth, hugs her, Savage gets a little intense, and that leads to the feud between the two of them. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, you have to have stuff like that. Undertaker, Yokozuna set up for Rumble, set up that whole thing and with the casket match, but it all started at Survivor Series. There's so many great things that's happened at Survivor Series. The debut of The Undertaker. How about the Randy Orton's performances at Survivor Series? Randy Orton is Mr. Survivor Series. If Shawn Michaels is Mr. WrestleMania, Randy Orton is Mr. Survivor Series. And right behind him's Dolph. So that's something to consider. And I mean, what else? The Montreal Screwjob. I don't want to touch on that. I feel that's just something that's so cliche now. Chuck fucking Norris was at a Survivor Series. If anyone remembers that. 1994. And so many. Sting debuted at Survivor Series. The Shield debuted at Survivor Series. I mean, Survivor Series has presented some of the best moments in wrestling. And we kind of went for a while where we looked down upon this show. And now I think it's time to start holding it back up. In the last 2 years, ever since the frickin' brand split came back, Survivor Series has been a must-watch show. And this year is no exception. Like, I am so excited for this year's Survivor Series. I was more excited before Monday, but we'll get into that in a minute. Let's talk about some news before we get into Survivor Series. I feel like let's talk about Monday first. So on Raw Monday, the SmackDown Women's Division decided to invade Raw. Becky Lynch had Ronda Rousey in the disarm her in the back. She then comes out to look at Team Raw. Out comes SmackDown Live Women. We get a melee. And then Nia Jax does her best Mike Tyson impersonation and decks the shit out of Becky Lynch. And Twitter was pissed. Oh my God. I have never seen a group of people so mad at someone before in my life than I was that week, than Monday night at the end of Raw. Well, I guess Tuesday when it was announced that Becky could not compete at Survivor Series. I've got two trains of thought on this. One, that moment of Becky bleeding and everything and still looking like a complete badass. Yeah, that's her Stone Cold moment. And I know a lot of people on Twitter said that. There's people who are saying it's not, but damn it. That's her Stone Cold Steve Austin moment. Right now, with Roman Reigns out, and you can say what you will about Roman. Get well, by the way. I know we haven't been doing that. You can say what you will about Roman during his run, but he was the biggest star. I'm sorry, but I think now, I honestly believe the biggest name in WWE right now is Becky Lynch. Debate me if you will. I don't think that there is a name in WWE bigger than Becky freaking Lynch. Because she's getting pops from everybody, including the women and the kids, including the hardcore fans, including the casual fans. There's just something about Becky that you attach to as a fan, and you just love her. No matter what she does, like being this heel character, and her chicken shit heel character too. They tried so hard. Evolution, when she piles this stuff on top of Charlotte, and Charlotte gets up, and her face just goes white and ghosting, and she takes off running. One of the best heel moves ever, and I still cheered the shit out of Becky Lynch. Because Becky Lynch truly is the man. Hands down. Sorry, Seth. And with that being said, so Becky Lynch is just completely busted open on Raw, looking like a complete badass. No doubt about it. She looked like a freaking badass. And SmackDown stood tall. So we move on to Tuesday and we find out that Becky Lynch is not going to be able to compete Sunday. She has a broken, WWE said broken face, but a concussion and a broken nose. I know that's the official diagnosis. I'm not happy about what happened because honestly, Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey was the match I was most excited about for Survivor Series. In my head, I was pretty sure that was the main event. I was sure those two women are going on last. Let's set it up. Let's make that happen. Now, with that being said, I'm pretty sure now, and Ronda and Charlotte still might be the main event. But now Charlotte Flair, like Becky had to pick her replacement, and they had all the SmackDown women out, and you're like, who's she gonna pick? And Becky Lynch picks Charlotte. They have a hug. It's a really emotional moment. But honest to God, and I get the hate for Nia. I get where this is coming from. Nia Jax this year, in the last 3 years, has injured Bayley, Charlotte, and someone else. Bayley, Charlotte, and Becky. And there's someone else on that list too. There's a fourth. Zelina Vega. It happened at Evolution. So I think Nia is a little unsafe, and I get where everybody's coming from. It's kind of a few weeks ago when Brie Bella kicked Liv Morgan in the head, and people were calling for her job to come to an end because of it. And I understand that mistakes are going to happen. I mean, if there's one thing that I feel like I could probably have been the most angry about at Botch, it was the stinger to Sting when Seth Rollins did the buckle bomb to Sting at Night of Champions in 2015. But no one called for Seth Rollins' head. I want to point that out. No one called for Seth Rollins' head. But when it comes to the women, it just seems like there's a little difference. But I'm going to say this about the situation, too. This was a blessing in disguise for WWE. And I don't want to be that guy. But Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey is now WrestleMania quality. The fact that they have been old school feuding on Twitter. And I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about, the Dusty Flair promos from the 80s. If they were just written out on Twitter, that's kind of what I feel Ronda and Becky Lynch are having back and forth. And it has been some of the most compelling stuff I have ever seen in my life. And I'm pretty sure that WWE is going to do Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. I'm also pretty sure that's going to be the main event. I feel WWE may hold Becky out until the Rumble, and she'll make her triumphant return, win the Royal Rumble, and challenge Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Because I figure they're going to take the SmackDown Women's title if they hold her that long. Interesting thoughts, though. But this is one of those things where I feel this moment fucked up the entire Survivor Series. Because as of Monday, we were going to get the Brock Lesnar AJ Styles rematch. And I am so pissed. So pissed off that WWE decided to put the Universal Championship back on Brock Lesnar. I don't give a shit. It is one of those guys now. I'm fine with you could put the Universal title on Jinder fucking Mahal right now, and I would be the happiest damn fan in the world. At least the fucking guy's there every week. I am so sick of Brock Lesnar being champion when he doesn't fucking need it. And I'll be the first one to say it. He is bigger than the championship, and it is just tarnishing that championship. Like, they want to build it up with a legacy. Finn Balor gets hurt after the first title victory, and you're like, oh, this thing's doomed. And then Kevin Owens goes on this amazing run with the championship. Just amazing run. And he loses it to Goldberg. Goldberg doesn't defend it anywhere but WrestleMania after Fastlane. It's the same principle that's happening in this pay-per-view. Because when Brock won it at Mania, Brock only defended it like 3 more times. Who gives a fuck? So in the time from WrestleMania 33 to WrestleMania 35, Brock loses the championship at SummerSlam, regains it back in 2 months. I know Roman was on the house show circuit. I don't know if he defended it much on the house show circuit, but at least the champion was on the house show circuit. There has to be some precedent set here that the champion needs to be on these house shows. And I know that house shows aren't doing as well as they used to, but part of that could be your champion's not fucking there. Yeah, I get it. There's not a Steve Austin type. There's not a Rock type. There's not a Hulk Hogan. I get that. There's not a John Cena. I understand that. I understand that there's all these names that is not on the house show circuit. But right now, WWE, and they say they want to be Disney. Well, my God, when you think wrestling, it's fucking WWE. Like, to a casual person, when you bring up pro wrestling, they're going to be like, oh, the WWE or the WWF stuff? You bet your sweet ass they're going to say that. So why in the world? So the name alone is going to sell tickets. Why in the world would you put the championship on someone who doesn't give a fuck about being there? Bothers me. We will not talk about Saudi Arabia, though. That's a whole different argument, and screw them for that decision. But Becky Lynch decided, the injury to Becky, back to where I was going, decided to throw off the entire night of Survivor Series because on SmackDown this week, they decided to put the WWE Championship on Daniel Bryan. So Daniel Bryan is now the WWE Champion, and heel Daniel Bryan going against a tweener Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series. The match we thought we were going to get at SummerSlam 2014? 2014? Yeah, 2014. Instead, we are getting it at, it's either 2014 or 2014. We're now getting it 4 years later at Survivor Series. It is a dream match, but I'm scared. I am scared for Daniel in this match. And I don't want to say that to be mean. I love Daniel Bryan. I don't want him to injure himself, but Brock's not safe. So hopefully he'll make it through. I mean, there's a slight chance that they might put Daniel Bryan over Brock. We know the contract for Brock is over at Mania. I'm pretty sure he's going to drop the Universal title to Drew McIntyre. I feel that's where this is going. Drew is probably the biggest name they have to do it. Unless you pull up Matt Riddle super quick. But I don't see that happening. I don't see them putting the Universal Championship on Bro. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But I do feel that Brock Lesnar could lose to Daniel Bryan. And we don't see Brock again to WrestleMania because I think he's got his UFC fight in January or February or March. It's one of the 3 months. It's right before Mania. I know it's before Mania. And just to know that is freaking crazy. So it is what it is. I'm excited for Daniel Bryan, though, to be in a match. I'm excited for Daniel Bryan's WWE Championship run because I figure the main of, like, we now know that Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles will probably happen at TLC, which I'm great with, or it'll happen at the Rumble. Like, I feel the rematch is going to happen. It might happen at Rumble, but heel Daniel Bryan. And where do you go from here? Because the rumor out there was that Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon was supposed to happen at WrestleMania. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about Shane McMahon anymore after what happened at Crown Jewel. But I'm a little pissy about this. And I hope there's also a rumor that Shane gets taken out of the match tonight. And that would be awesome. Because right now I think WWE has just hit the reset button for Mania. Because of what happened to Becky Lynch. Like, reset. And what happened with Roman. Because you had to do something. Because I originally remember reading that Survivor Series was not going to have Raw versus SmackDown matches. And here we are. But I think a lot of that had to do with Roman relinquishing the championship. So, hell, at this point, if you were going to do it, just keep the title vacant until the Rumble and just have the Royal Rumble winner win it. But we did not do that. And the other big story, really quick before we get into that one, shout out, Marco Stunt injured his leg at Joey Janela's LA Confidential, and get well, Marco. Huge fan of Marco Stunts. We've talked about him on this show for over a year before he blew up. He is having a hell of a 2018, and it's coming to an end pretty sadly for him with the leg injury, and hopefully he gets back on the ring super quick. So heal up soon, Marco Stunt. And my God, David Arquette's a beast. David Arquette and Nick Gage at Joey Janela's LA Confidential proves that deathmatch wrestling should never be a thing again. Or if you're going to do it, at least do it with an actual guy who's been trained more than 2 years, probably. Because Jesus, that was scary. I hope David Arquette's doing okay. That was just, ugh. But let's talk about the other story going on this week, and that is the James Ellsworth deal. And I don't know how many of you have kept up with this, but James Ellsworth apparently sent nude photos of himself to a 16-year-old girl over Snapchat. And originally when this story broke, I thought, okay, this could be an Enzo Amore situation where you've got one party saying one thing, him saying the other. Okay, that's fine. We don't know when the truth will actually come out, kind of like the Enzo Amore situation. And then the next thing I know, the pictures show up online, and I did not want to see those photos. And it's coming across right now that James Ellsworth is the biggest piece of shit ever. And I don't know, like we saw okay, so here's a James Ellsworth story that not a lot of people know. At StarCast, check out the AJ is Awesome show. AJ was trying to get an interview with as many people as he could. He's I don't know how old he is, but he's a child. And AJ got interviews with a bunch of different names. One of the names he went up to was like, hey, can I get an interview with you, James Ellsworth? And James Ellsworth blew him off. Like, just completely just no-sold him. He's like, You come up with one good question, come back at 4, ask it, and that's our interview. At that moment, when we heard this story, a lot of us just kind of looked at each other and went, yeah, fuck James Ellsworth. So it was that moment in time where you're like, this guy's kind of a tool bag. And then this comes out, and you realize how much of a piece of shit James Ellsworth really is. Because, okay, no matter what happens in this situation, James Ellsworth has fucked his career up by sending nudes. Not nudes to anybody like overage, but sending nudes to girls that are under 18, you dingbat. So, Ellsworth built up this career, much like Gilbert in a way, where no matter what happens, you could do a one-off appearance for WWE. You could do a one-off appearance for TNA. You could do a one-off appearance for Impact. You can do a one-off appearance for Ring of Honor. You can do a one-off appearance for Lucha. You can do a one-off appearance for the NWA. And that could happen. You have made a name for yourself, so much so, as a comedy guy, that you could do one-off chances. He fucked all that up. WWE's never going to bring him back. Impact's never going to bring him back. The NWA is never going to bring him back. No matter what happens now, James Ellsworth may never be allowed near a wrestling ring again, and it's his own god dang fault. And I feel, I don't know how in the world you would be possessed to send a fucking child a photo of your freaking junk. Like, honestly, what possesses you to do that, James Ellsworth? Like, why? There were so many fans of his out there that would be excited to have seen him show up in a Royal Rumble match, come out at number like 21. It's James fucking Ellsworth. He would have had pop after pop every time he came back. And yet, that guy fucked up his entire career, and I get it. It is innocent until proven guilty. But my God, the pictures are freaking damning. He brought this onto himself. This is no one else's doing but James Ellsworth. And I know he released a statement saying he's innocent, but my God, man, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Those do not look photoshopped. Those don't look like your head on someone else's body. Like, if James Ellsworth does not need to be near wrestling ever again. He has been fired from GTS Wrestling, which is Grimm's YouTube channel. If you haven't checked out Grimm's YouTube channel, you should. He's also got fired from his own podcast, which, wow. And Independent this week decided to tell him to go the fuck home. So I figure James Ellsworth's career in wrestling is over. His 15 minutes of fame has come to a chin. All right. Last night, NXT TakeOver War Games 2. My freaking God. I love NXT. I love the TakeOver events. I feel we went to it last year. We went to War Game. We went specifically because War Games got brought back last year in Houston. And when I heard they were doing it again, I got super excited. I could not wait. And my God, did it not disappoint. The show kicks off with the opening video package music playing, going to war, and we get a surprise appearance from bro, Matt Riddle. I freaking love Matt Riddle. I've seen him on the Independents, and I thought he was great. But there is just something that, I never expected Matt Riddle to translate so damn well to WWE. And here's Matt Riddle looking like $1 million against Cassius Ohno last night in that 1 second beatdown where he knocks him out in less than a second. Because apparently there's something happened on the pre-show, and I missed the pre-show. But my God, Matt Riddle in that one night. Because takeovers are now must-see. No matter what happens, takeovers are... NXT takeovers now is what wrestling pay-per-views used to be, where you would go out of your way to watch a Survivor Series, a SummerSlam, a WrestleMania, a Rumble, and a King of the Ring. There are 5 takeovers a year, and it just makes them feel more special. Like there used to be 5 pay-per-views a year for WWE, and it made it feel special. So same principle. And that was amazing. So Matt Riddle's match. And then we move on to the 2 out of 3 falls match with Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler. And I said this when Shayna Baszler came out. Shayna Baszler is a star. Like, I didn't realize how much of a star she was last year in the Mae Young Classic. Because I think she was just really, she's still a little green. She's been able to work on her character for a year. When she won the championship back at Evolution, she looked like a complete badass. Like, she is a perfect female heel. She is a dick. She gets what she wants. If she doesn't, she's going to freaking take it and beat your ass for it. Shayna Baszler is amazing. And so is Kairi Sane. I love Kairi Sane. So when they announced 2 out of 3 falls, I was super excited. The first fall goes to Shayna with help from Marina Shafir. And I cannot think of the other, Jessamine Duke, who came at the other 2 members of the 4 Horsewomen of MMA. I think this may be leading to something at Survivor Series, but we'll talk about that in a little bit later. So the first fall goes to her. The second fall goes to Kairi Sane after the insane elbow. And the third fall, we get Jessamine Duke and Shafir interfering again. Out comes Dakota Kai, almost kicks Jessamine Duke's head off. I love Dakota Kai. Then she's getting beat down by Shafir and Jessamine Duke. Then Io Shirai comes out, does the most beautiful moonsault I have ever seen in jeggings in my life, and just unbelievably hits that moonsault. All 4 women are down on the floor in the ring. Kairi Sane gets the upper hand, goes for the insane elbow, and Shayna Baszler counters it into a pin for the 1, 2, 3. It was unbelievable how good this match was. I love Shayna. I love these 2 in the ring. I think these 2 have a great chemistry in the ring, and I think it's always going to translate that well. Because I feel neither one of them are getting called up. I think we're going to get a 6-woman at TakeOver Phoenix. I think we're going to get some sort of 6-woman tag match or something to that extent coming up at the next TakeOver. And then, but I might be wrong about that. Kairi Sane could be called up tonight. There is a spot open in the SmackDown Survivor Series lineup where you don't know who it's going to be. I figure it's going to go to Mandy Rose. I figure it could go to Mandy Rose or one of the Iconics, but I could be completely wrong, and they could pull up Kairi Sane. They could pull up Shayna, which was my original thought. I figured Kairi Sane would win back the NXT Women's Championship, and then Shayna Baszler would be called up, and Shayna Baszler would lead SmackDown and then come out later on and help Ronda against Charlotte. That could still happen, but it won't be. I doubt they call up Shayna Baszler now, but unbelievable women's match. And then, so we go from this kind of Temor submission MMA high flyer match to a grudge match between Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black. And I just got chills just talking about this match. This was a thing of beauty. Johnny Gargano is having the best year in WWE history. He is Mr. Takeover. Johnny Gargano is the Shawn Michaels of NXT. Hands freaking down. Him and Aleister Black just tore down the damn house. And that fade to black at the end was like, I absolve you for your sins. And you're like, what the shit? And then he kicks him in the face twice. And you're like, my God, is this it? But move after move, the dives to the floor, the kicks, the knees. It was the equivalent of watching an MMA match. It was so good. It was so good. I recommend going out of your way to watching TakeOver War Games from Los Angeles. I just do it. And then we move on to the NXT Championship match. The Velveteen Dream and Tommaso Ciampa. And I popped really super hard because I thought Velveteen Dream was going to become the NXT champion. He comes out with an homage to Hollywood Hogan. Speaking of which, let me talk about something else. Johnny Gargano's trunks last night doing the Punisher thing with Johnny Takeover. Fantastic. Mauro Ranallo's call at the beginning, how War Games' NXT's version of Infinity War was unbelievable. So that was fun. So moving forward to what we would like to call I don't know if this is match of the night or not. I think it's 1-2. I think Gargano Ciampa, or Gargano Black, and Ciampa Velveteen Dream stole the show. War Games was great too, but I don't think it was as good as last year's War Games. But those four guys that are in there, I don't know what's going to happen for the NXT Championship at TakeOver Phoenix. I'm thinking a fatal four-way might happen with Ciampa, Velveteen, Aleister Black, and Gargano. And I would be fine with that because right now it's almost SmackDown 6-esque. Because you could throw in Adam Cole and Ricochet and you have 6. I mean, Pete Dunne's there, but Pete Dunne's also part of the UK brand. But I think we're going to get Pete Dunne Ricochet at TakeOver Phoenix. I don't know where Adam Cole fits in this yet. Oh, it looks good. I cannot wait. But, my God, Velveteen Dream. The guy's 23 years old. 20 fucking 3. And he is going to be the biggest star in wrestling. Hands down. This dude is going to be absolutely a monster. He is going to win a championship after championship after championship. I can guarantee that. So I'm hoping. I thought it was going to be last night. I think he's going to get called up. I think he's ready. I don't want him to. I would like him to hold the NXT championship for a while. I think that would be fantastic, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I think we're going to see Velveteen Dream on SmackDown this week. Because I think we're going to see a couple of call-ups. And it looks like to me, if they do it, it's going to be Velveteen Dream and Aleister Black. I hope that they don't tank him on the main roster, and that's one of my biggest fears. But they could. It is what it is. And then the War Games match. And Tommaso Ciampa wins with that DDT to the metal grate. And I thought for the life of me, after Dream hit that elbow, I thought it was it. I thought Velveteen Dream was going to win the NXT Championship, and he didn't. And my heart was broken. But Velveteen Dream's best match. It's a possibility that there's 2 5-star matches back-to-back on this show. And honestly, if you want to go with your rating system, like, look, if you enjoy the show, you enjoy the show. Don't ever just primarily go by Dave Meltzer's rating system. But I can honestly see this being every match 4 stars or more. And I don't think it will be because Dave doesn't like women's wrestling. But I honestly don't believe it because I still believe in my mind Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch was 5 stars. But it's up to you. Like, I feel wrestling is like music. You like what you like. Screw what everyone else thinks. Like, you'll listen to the critics, but you don't have to agree with them. It's the same way with movies. Wrestling is what it is. Like, people enjoy different things. I thought War Games was tremendous. There's a couple of things. I thought War Games kind of drug, though, in certain spots. Like, when they were getting the guys into the ring. When War Raiders, when Hanson and Rowe and O'Reilly and Roderick were all coming together in the ring, I felt that War Games started to slow down a bit to where you're like, but it was more traditional War Games, and that's fine. It was good. I mean, I have no problems with it. When Ricochet does the jump in between rings at the beginning of the show, at the beginning of War Games, is unreal. But I feel the match really started getting crazy when Bobby Fish came in and he stole the lock from his cage, put it on the cage where Pete Dunne was, and then enters the cage, giving Undisputed Era 4 chairs. Tables were used in this thing. I mean, but when Pete Dunne came in, it was just a whole different ball game. Like, a new energy had come over all 8 guys, and my God, but there is that spot And this is going to be crazy. One, Ricochet, you knew he was going to jump off the top of the cage. Two, the Tower of Doom spot in War Games was unfucking believable. But I think the best spot of the match really wasn't a wrestling spot. I think when you go back in time and WWE promotes War Games from now on, and I think it's going to end up at the main roster eventually, and if it does, it'll be Survivor Series. But I think when they do promote War Games from now on, you're going to see the line in the sand standoff where they were standing on the metal grate, staring at each other, jaw-jacking inside the War Games cage. That moment was unbelievable. That moment will stand the test of time. But at the end of the day, Pete Dunne and Ricochet get the win over pin Adam Cole at the same time. And then we get a stare down between Pete Dunne and Ricochet on top of the War Games cage, which I think is setting up Pete Dunne versus Ricochet for the North American Championship or the UK Championship or a combination of both. Like, that's what I think is coming up. Adam Cole could be thrown in that. Overall, A+. Like, it's a damn good show. Top to bottom, some of the best wrestling you're going to see from NXT. Every takeover in 2018 delivered in ways that I did not expect. Because I thought one of the takeovers was going to be pretty weak, and then I was proven wrong. So they do it every time, guys. If you hear there's an NXT takeover coming near you, jump on those tickets. If you hear there's a house show coming near you, jump on those tickets. Enjoy some wrestling from the NXT brand because it is the best brand. All right, moving forward. Tonight is the Survivor Series. It is Raw versus SmackDown all night long, with the exception of one match on the pre-show. I'm going to try to give my thoughts on who's going to win. No championship this time. And I'm probably going to be wrong. It is what it is. To kick off on the pre-show, it is a 10-on-10 Survivor Series tag team elimination match for Raw. It's Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, The Revival, The B-Team, Lucha House Party, and The Ascension against Team SmackDown, led by the Usos, The New Day, Sanity, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and the Colognes. Oh boy. So I'm going to say this on paper. If it's going to be hard to choose for me in this because I think SmackDown has the better tag teams. But I could see them giving this match to Raw. The weird team for me in all of this is Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. I still don't understand how Bobby Roode is in a tag team and not heel. I don't understand it. So I feel like this is going to work like the old school matches. So if your partner gets pinned, you're both eliminated. I could see this just coming down to the Usos and New Day winning. Or the Revival winning, but it's a pre-show match, so I'm going to give this one to SmackDown. It's early enough in the night. It's going to be a great way to get the crowd pumped, though. I think this is going to be a really fun match. Because remember back in the... Like, if you go back and watch those old school Survivor Series matches, where there were teams against teams, whereas all the tag teams around the ring, and there was 20 people, they were some of the most fun matches. You got, and probably one of the biggest storylines ever come out of Survivor Series, the double turn between Demolition and the Powers of Pain, happening at the 1988 version of Survivor Series. So, with Mr. Fuji joining the Powers of Pain and leaving Demolition. Great moment. So, I feel this is going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of high flying. I feel like people are going to get their spots in. It's going to be fun. It's a good pre-show match. I kind of wish this one was on the main card, but it is what it is. Moving to the main card, the only Raw versus SmackDown match, a singles for the Cruiserweight Championship, Buddy Murphy, who absolutely killed it at the Super Show. Oh my God. Super Showdown, whatever it was. Buddy Murphy defeating Cedric Alexander in a one hell of a match. And tonight at Survivor Series, he defends the Cruiserweight Championship against Mustafa Ali. And look, it is time. Put the championship on Mustafa Ali. I thought Mustafa Ali was going to be champion after or during WrestleMania because that was his time. And that was a hell of a match. I think Mustafa Ali's moment is tonight. You have to, or you're going to damage him. He has had, also, you want to talk about guys having a great year. Mustafa Ali is killing it, and he still isn't getting his just desserts. This guy should be Cruiserweight champion, and I think you could have some fun matches to see Mustafa Ali defend against guys, hands down. Because, I mean, him and Hideo Itami, him and Buddy Murphy from 205 Live in, I think, August or September. So this match, this is going to be a sleeper match. This could be one of those that you don't think will be your match of the night and could be your match of the night. That's how good these two are against each other, so don't sleep on this one. I'm taking Mustafa Ali to win the championship. I like Buddy Murphy, what he's doing. I think the progression for the Cruiserweight Championship is going to be Mike Kanellis. So you can't have heel versus heel. I think you can, but it just isn't as fun. So I think we're going to see Buddy Murphy drop it to Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali take on Mike Kanellis at the Rumble. All right, moving forward, it is the Authors of Pain, the Raw Tag Team Champions with their manager, Drake Maverick, the GM at 205 Live, taking on The Bar, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, with the Big Show in their corner. I think SmackDown gets their second win of the night. It's going to be The Bar. I could just see this. The thing that's like the tag team match, I could see going either way. Because the Revival's a really good team, and Bobby Roode and Chad Gable should be single stars. But it also has the Usos and the New Day, but I could see the Authors of Pain. I don't see them winning this. I see the Bar taking it. Bar wins this match. The women's Survivor Series match, Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, Mickie James, the Face Buster Nia Jax, Tamina, Natalya, and Ruby Riott, with Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, and Sarah Logan, taking on Team SmackDown, Carmella, Naomi, Sonya Deville, Asuka, and a mystery partner who is supposed to be the captain. Because originally this is supposed to be the role Charlotte Flair was in, and now it's not. So who gets the role for the Survivor Series team? And I think this is interesting because there are so many picks out there. The SmackDown women's roster, I think, only has 3 other women on it. If I'm thinking correctly, I think the only 3 left would be the Iconics and Mandy Rose. Do I think they're going to do that? No. I'm not really 100% sure what they're going to do right now with that, because I mean, you have to pick somebody. There could be an NXT call up here. I thought this is where Shayna Baszler would show up, because I thought, if Shayna would have dropped the championship, of course she would have showed up. Like, I feel this would have been a great place for her to show up. We could see someone get traded to SmackDown, but what show is Brie on? Brie could fit in the spot. Brie Bella, I think she's on SmackDown. At this point, I don't know. She's listed as Raw, but she was on SmackDown and Raw there for a while. I mean, Billie Kay Peyton Royce, of course. Yeah, we're in uncharted territory here. Because if you do one Iconic, you have to do both Iconics. I guess Lana is a choice. Theoretically, you could do Lana. Mandy Rose, Lana, the Iconics. Or someone gets called up from NXT, or there's a trade. Zelina Vega's out for a while. I think I don't think she's been cleared from concussion. This is weird. This is one of those situations where I don't know. Like, I will say this. If it's Lana or an Iconic Raw win, or if it's anyone that's actually on SmackDown right now, I'm pretty sure Raw wins this. If it's somebody new, And then Asuka's kind of the other wild card in this match too, because Asuka's Asuka. Asuka right now is the most dominating name in this, besides maybe Nia. I can see Natalya standing tall for Team Raw, but I don't know. Something weird's gonna happen here. I'm gonna go on my word. I'm gonna take that back from SmackDown winning the tag team pre-show match. I'm gonna say Raw wins that and SmackDown wins this, because I feel this is Sonya Deville's coming out party. We talk about women's wrestlers and how good they are. I think Sonya Deville is one of those that has so much talent, and they see it, because they called her up super early, and she didn't even really get a run in NXT, and they called her up last year because she was ready. Saw a match with her and Asuka at a house show. My God, Sonya Deville and Asuka almost killed each other. It was so good. And I think Sonya's ready. I think this is going to be Sonya Deville's moment to shine. I think Sonya Deville's going to be what Asuka was last year at Survivor Series. But it still doesn't know who's going to be replacing her, or who's going to replace Charlotte. So that'll be fun to find out. I mean, it's a weird situation right now for SmackDown, I think. Moving on, it is the Team Survivor Series match of Raw versus SmackDown. I do believe SmackDown wins this one as well, because I just don't see Raw winning. But I could, like, the whole storyline with Braun takes me somewhere else. The match is Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, and Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley to take on Team SmackDown, The Miz, Shane McMahon, Rey Mysterio, Samoa Joe, and Jeff Hardy. You know, I think Raw's going to win this one too, and I think there's going to be, like, I could see all 5 members of Raw surviving. And this is not a knock against SmackDown, but Shane McMahon should not be in this match. Why the hell is Randy Orton not in Survivor Series? Why the hell is AJ Styles? Like, I feel like AJ's probably taking some time off, but why the hell is Randy Orton not in this match? So that's fun. So the idea is, if Braun Strowman gets the win, or his team gets the win, it's going to lead to Strowman getting the shot at the Universal title at some point at a match with Baron Corbin. I think that's where they're going to go. I think Raw is going to win. I think Drew McIntyre is going to be the star of this match, though. I think Drew is going to eliminate most of SmackDown. So that'll be interesting to see. It's going to be a fun... Like, I love the Survivor Series matches. This is probably my least favorite of the night. I'm more excited for the women's one than I am this one, due to the idea of not knowing who's going to be in that 5th spot, and that's going to weigh how the match goes. And then I think Raw will win. I think we're going to do the Braun Strowman story where he gets one more shot at Brock, but it's really leading to Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania is my thought. Speaking of Brock Lesnar, the WWE champion Daniel Bryan against Brock Lesnar. It's champion versus champion. It's Lesnar. I don't want it to be Lesnar, but it's Lesnar. If Daniel Bryan wins, I'll be the most shocked human being on the planet. I will not complain. I will go back on this show next Sunday and be the happiest man alive. So I'm picking Brock to win, though. I think this is going to be scary. I think it's going to be fast. I'm worried this is a punishment for Daniel Bryan not going to Saudi Arabia. But Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura. So at this point, SmackDown has 2. Raw has 3. I could honestly go back and say that I could see Raw. Man. SmackDown has 2. Raw has 3. Yeah. That tells me that Nakamura might win this, because I think they're going to do 4-3 again, and I hate that. But it's going to be Seth Rollins. I'm going to stick with my gun. Seth Rollins defeats Nakamura in a hell of a match. So this match, again, like when they advertise the top matches for Survivor Series, it's this one, it's Ronda, Charlotte, and Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan. The commercial that was aired during TakeOver last night had all 3 of those. So, interesting to think about. Moving, and the final match, of course, is Ronda Rousey against Charlotte Flair. I'm going to choose Ronda Rousey. I think this is going to be the start of the Four Horsewomen storyline. I think this is also the kickoff to what we are expecting for that main event for WrestleMania, being Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. Because I think how the Rumble will go, it'll come down. I figure it's going to come down to Becky Lynch and Nia Jax for what happened on Raw, and then Becky eliminates Nia, gets her revenge there. And then, of course, at WrestleMania, instead of challenging the SmackDown Women's Champion, who will probably be Charlotte, instead of challenging the SmackDown Women's Championship, she will challenge the Raw Women's Champion in Ronda Rousey. That is it for Survivor Series. Guys, tonight's going to be a crazy night of WWE action. And as always, it's a Big Four show, so I expect it to be somewhat good. I don't expect it to be terrible. I thought SummerSlam was really solid this year. And I thought Mania was solid for the first half of it. Rumble wasn't terrible either. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those shows where you know you're probably going to have fun. I don't really know what to expect story-wise right now. Betting odds are really close with the exception of Brock Lesnar's match. I think Lesnar is so far ahead of winning that. And I think Ronda is so far ahead of winning her match too. And I try not to go by those most of the time because there were so many that were wrong for so long. I do expect Raw to win the upper hand. I want to see SmackDown get the upper hand tonight, and I think that would be tremendous. Because I think the blue brand is the bigger brand going into TV deals, being that they're on Fox. But I could also see everyone getting switched around. People to watch out for tonight. I think this is Sonya Deville's night to shine. I think this is going to be the night where we look back and go, you know what? Sonya Deville's going to get a shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship. That's coming. I think that her and Mandy Rose will probably have a feud first, and then it's going to be Sonya getting a shot at the SmackDown Women's Champion. In fact, WrestleMania could be Charlotte and Sonya Deville. That is how confident I am with Sonya. I think she's one of those stars that you should never underestimate, and she's going to do really big things. I also think Drew McIntyre is going to come out as a major star tonight. It's the 1 year from his injury at TakeOver War Games last year. I think tonight's the night he comes out and just completely obliterates people. Are we going to see a face Miz? That's the other question I have to ask. Will the Miz be a face tonight at Survivor Series? That could be fun. So, guys, that's going to wrap up this edition of SNS. Phil will join us again at some point. Ashley will join us again at some point. But tonight it was just me, and I'm glad you guys took the time to listen to me ramble and bitch about wrestling. If you haven't checked out a lot of the stuff, if you haven't watched any wrestling lately, within the next couple of weeks, we'll talk about All In. We'll talk about why I think All In was successful, but I'm also going to talk some negative. Ooh, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And do I believe that the Elite will be starting their own wrestling promotion in January? Because I think that is where this is going. I think the fact that they're free agents and the Bucks aren't signed for Wrestle Kingdom tells me that we're getting something else. Or will they go to the big WWE? I know Cody has got a torn meniscus. He's still going to wrestle Final Battle for Ring of Honor. He's still going to do his Wrestle Kingdom appearance, and he's going to have surgery on that. Does Kenny Omega drop the championship at Wrestle Kingdom? By the way, I want to point this out, and I haven't said anything about this because this is Survivor Series night. Wrestle Kingdom 13, I don't care about right now. I don't know if, and I know that's blasphemous to say because it's New Japan. Dave Meltzer would fire me. But right now, the card to Wrestle Kingdom 13 does not have me salivating like it did last year, with the exception of maybe one match. Which I did not know was announced until I just looked at it. There's going to be a three-way for the IWGP Junior Championship. Suzuki-gun, Kanemaru, and Desperado versus Roppongi 3K and LIJ, Bushi, and Takagi, which is their newest member. Kushida defends against Taiji Ishimori in the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Maybe the match that I'm kind of looking forward to if I were to watch this show, because right now I'm not. Tomohiro Ishii versus Zack Sabre Jr. I think that match will be great because those two have good chemistry. I don't care about Okada and Jay White, and it's nothing against either one of them. I just think this might be beneath Okada for a Wrestle Kingdom. I think this is a great feud, but I don't know how this is a Wrestle Kingdom match. Like, the story's there. Jay White joining Bullet Club, this organizing chaos. It is what it is. I just don't know if I don't feel good about this match. Chris Jericho and Tetsuya Naito, which we saw at Dominion, and I'm fine seeing rematches in New Japan, but Jericho hasn't defended the belt but one time. And I figure Naito's going to win it back here because I don't think we're going to see Jericho in New Japan next year. And then Kenny Omega and Hiroshi Tanahashi, and I'm going to say this, there's just something about Tanahashi, and I think he's a great wrestler, but there's just something about Hiroshi Tanahashi that bores the shit out of me. So it's almost like John Cena in 2010, where I'm just like, Like, I would never probably play as Tanahashi on a video game. That's where I'm at with him. Like Rey Mysterio in 2008. Like, I just don't care. I love Kenny Omega, and I think he's a great performer, but it's Tanahashi just bores me, and I don't know if it's just me or I came into New Japan so late that I'm just like, meh. But I feel like Tanahashi's winning the championship because we don't know where Omega's going, and they're not going to put it on him. They're not going to let him keep it unless he re-signs, and they're re-signing all together, which tells me they're starting their own promotion because I don't see them all jumping ship to WWE, and I could be wrong about that too because no one has said a word. I mean, they're doing this stupid jokes and being the elite right now where they're sending letters from H. I mean, that could just be like, hey, we're actually doing it. Ha, 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 ha. Screw you guys, but I don't know anymore. So that's how I feel about Wrestle Kingdom at the moment. We're going to wrap up this show right now. Guys, enjoy Survivor Series. Enjoy some wrestling. Next week, we'll talk about what happened this weekend, what happened tonight, what happened at Raw and SmackDown, who got the call-ups, because I figure someone is. And then we're going to discuss some other wrestling-related topics next week, including, if anyone joins me next week, about All In, WrestleMania 35 in New York City, and what could be the most interesting Royal Rumble ever. Yes. And it's a little tweak that they've done, but it's enough to make you even more intrigued. So, guys, that's going to be next week on SNS. We will see you next time. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving weekend. Don't enjoy too much turkey. And remember, if you're going to turn heel on your family, make sure they're as gullible as Sting. Good night, everybody.